TNA Throwback 72, and we are on our way to Sacrifice. Let's quickly recap what happened on last week's show, which was the April 21st Impact, the fallout from the lockdown pay-per-view, and we're gonna move on to the last Impact of April. So the big takeaways from last week's show were that we got the Jay Lethal Appreciation Night. Kurt Angle vowed for a title shot, but was interrupted by the Pope. We set up the rematch for the world title between Jay Lethal and the Pope at Sacrifice. Carlito became the new #1 contender for the Global Championship. We got the heaps of a Morgan Angle feud backstage. Matt Hardy beat RVD. Then in turning to attack confrontation with Jeff and Jerry Lynn. Aries defeated Kazarian. We got the Pope beating Mr. Anderson after a distraction by Gunner, which will probably foreshadow their new program. We got the announcement that Bischoff will leave his place as an authority figure next week. Abyss defeated Orlando in a loser leaves TNA match. Beer Money will get a chance. After Heyman was thankful for his whole team after winning his authority back. The main event was the #1 contendership for the World Tag Titles. Loki and Kingston defeat the Guns and Beer Money to become the new #1 contenders, and then we got the championship celebration. So yeah, if you want a full recap of the show, you can watch the previous video. Right now we are moving on to the April 28th Impact, which opened with Heyman. He was in a good mood. He knew what was about to come, so Bischoff's music played. Basically, this is the, I guess, the culmination of this whole thing. Heyman officially fired Bischoff from his authority position. He takes full control of TNA. So as of this Impact, Heyman is in full charge of the company. There's no more Bischoff. So this basically is the end of a very lengthy Bischoff reign. He came in on January 4th with Hogan. Then there was some shenanigans. Hogan left the company on his own terms, and Bischoff was running the show basically like a year and a half, because he was a babyface at first till like October or November, then he turned heel. So Bischoff was the GM for, I guess, the whole game I've been running. So this was his last show. And starting May 19th, which is 3 Impacts from now, after the Sacrifice pay-per-view, TNA Impact will rebrand to TNA Impact Wrestling. And you all remember, guys, that back in the day, in 2011, TNA Impact rebranded itself to Impact Wrestling, and I think I'm gonna do the same thing, because it's time for a change, and this change will be forced by Paul Heyman as far as kayfabe goes. He also announced Ric Flair as a commissioner who will act as an assistant. So basically, we need to have variety. So we can't have Heyman booking every segment and being the centerpiece of the whole thing. We need to have a second guy who can play fiddle to him, and what better guy to do than Ric Flair, who I can't find a better position for in the show. Ric Flair is very over. He is like 100% over in the game, so he will have a good stint as a commissioner. So Heyman is gonna be the GM, with Flair helping him in some of the segments. The show opened with Mr. Anderson taking on Gunner in a singles match. Mr. Anderson won via DQ when Gunner used brass knuckles. Ref saw him and disqualified him. Gunner continued his beatdown. So this is the beginning of a feud between Anderson and Gunner. It started last week when Gunner interfered and helped the Pope pin Anderson, and right now we continue this feud with a singles match. Angle came out to the ring. He called out Morgan over his comments last week. Last week Morgan told Angle that he doesn't deserve a title shot. He has no business in the title picture. So Morgan came out, they immediately started brawling, security split them apart, Heyman came out the ramp and booked them in a singles match tonight. Abyss took on Devon and he beat him via black hole slam, continued his beatdown. This beatdown is supposed to put Devon out for a lengthy period of time. Abyss cut a promo saying the monster in him is unleashed again, he's free from Bischoff and he's making an open challenge next week. So it's obvious that after the World Congregation stable is slowly dissolving, and I guess the Pope will remain in cahoots with Morgan, we need to do something with all those guys. We need to book them in different paths, and Abyss was always the monster, and he was kind of hindered in this stable. He was the tag team champion with Gunner at some point in time, but we need to have this direction with him, and we'll do it this way. Just bring him back to the monster gimmick. Backstage, Daniels was shown warming up. He's taking a mystery newcomer. So yeah, basically John Morrison is debuting on Impact. He defeated Chris Daniels via Starship Pain and cut a promo on AJ Styles. I didn't change his name because I don't think there has to be a name change. This is not a real game. And I basically signed Morrison from WWE. As time passes by, a lot of those guys in WWE have their contracts expiring, and I'm the better company in the game. My public image is 100% global, so most of the guys in WWE are leaving the company and joining the better brand. So I got John Morrison because I think he's a great athlete and he may do great things in TNA, and he gets the victory here over Daniels, and the plan here is to have him face AJ in his first pay-per-view appearance. So we'll try to build this up over the next two Impacts. The best of 5 match number 1, Gail Kim defeated Sarita via defeat after cheating. She poked her in the eyes, so Gail is going 1 up. Storm and Root came out, they cut a promo about being the right number 1 contenders for the tag titles because last week Loki and Kingston won the number 1 contendership match after an interference from their Team Fight Club guys, which are Eric Young, Homicide, and Hernandez. The World Tag Champs Crimson Joe came out and challenged them to an impromptu match. If they win, they will get a title shot. So we got Crimson Joe versus Beer Money, which got a pretty high rating, 86%. The match ended no contest when Team Fight Club's 5 members interfered. So this is a continuation of this angle. Robbie called out Aries. He wanted his rematch. Austin agreed. This will be his last chance, so Aries will take on Robbie at Sacrifice for the X title. Chris Hemi put the pressure on Robbie, implying she may dump him if he doesn't get back the X title. The Hardys defeat the British Invasion in a tag team match. Jeff P and Douglas Williams. Then we got Bischoff's farewell. It got attended by his ex-goons, which is the World Congregation. Bischoff basically took full credit for the Pope's title run, and he may be right because Bischoff helped him a lot in this title run with all kinds of referees, fake referees, interferences, and all these things. Pope thanked Bischoff for everything, but then he instructed Morgan to beat his ass, and he did. So Bischoff's last appearance on the show is gonna be getting his ass beat. This is pretty obvious booking because Bischoff is leaving the show, so it's better to put heat on the heels that will remain in the show. So the Pope will get more heat by actually beating up Bischoff or instructing, being the mastermind behind this beating of Bischoff by instructing Morgan to do it. And the whole point is to get the Pope more over and basically get more heel heat on him. The main event was Matt Morgan versus Kurt Angle, and Matt Morgan won via DQ when Angle was set up with an illegal object. So this whole finish is gonna be Angle, someone or like probably the Pope or someone else will throw something in the ring, and Angle will pick it up, and the referee is gonna see him with this weapon in his hand, and call the match off. And this will piss Angle off a lot, and he'll apply an ankle lock. He'll make Morgan tap out. So this is setting up the real match, which will probably be at the pay-per-view, probably a #1 contendership match. So I decided that the better way for this match is to end in some sort of a fuck finish, so we can book the real match at the pay-per-view. So this was the show. We got 2 more impacts, the May 5th and the May 12th impact. Then we got the Sacrifice pay-per-view, and then we will rebrand to Impact Wrestling. So this was it for this episode. Stay tuned for next week.